Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2. On today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this. It's an iomega click drive, which is, well, it's a removable storage medium from 1999 that is the size of a compact flash card. So about the size of a credit card, a little bit thicker. And this thing holds 40 megabytes, which at the time was pretty amazing. And unlike flash storage, which you might be thinking of, which was sort of coming online at the time of this does not use flash storage. It is a hard drive. There's actually a removable hard drive inside this little card. So I have a ThinkPad here. We're gonna test this out on the ThinkPad. This thing's got Linux on here and Windows XP, so we can try it on both. And of course, with Linux, we can take a look at the low-level stuff that's going on with this drive. Like, does this just show up as an IDE hard drive, or what exactly? Now, from a little housekeeping perspective, I am fighting COVID. Well, I mean, I think I'm pretty much over the COVID part. I am not testing positive anymore, but I have like some of the, I don't know, I wouldn't call it long COVID yet because it's only been a week, but shortness of breath, I'm still dealing with a little bit of that. And some other issues still, congestion and stuff like that. Even though, for the most part, the COVID symptoms themselves are gone, and I'm finished with my course of Paxlovid, which is the antiviral drug, which gives you a horrible taste in your mouth. So I'm glad to be done with that. At least I don't have a terrible taste, but I don't have a smell or any of these other things you get with COVID. What a freaking wonderful thing to get. It's my second time with this. And of course, if you saw my video from, I think, a few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had been suffering with some GI, some stomach issues as well, which all stem back to, I think, some food I might have eaten when I was at VCF in Dallas. And unfortunately, that's still with me a little bit as well. So I've actually lost about 8% of my body weight since that whole thing started. And that's really just because I haven't been eating that much. And the funny thing is because I've been sick, I haven't been doing any exercise. I mean, I don't normally exercise a whole lot, but I at least ride my bike and go for walks and stuff like that. And I haven't been doing any of that stuff either. And I still lost all this weight. So yeah, anyways. And I do have coughing fits occasionally, but of course I'll edit those out so you won't have to see those. Anyhow, let's first start with the Wikipedia article on this little click drive here, because I really don't know much about this other than I think I saw an LGR video on these. I don't know if this thing works. This thing was given to me. It's untested. It may be completely dead. And if it is, then we're going to be doing a teardown because I don't have, well, I think this is the hard drive here that comes out. There it is. I don't have any more of these. So if this thing is dead, then I think maybe we'll be taking this thing apart. I don't know. We'll see. Right, so the Wikipedia article on the click drive here is actually labeled Pocket Zip, and it seems that this thing was renamed from click drive to Pocket Zip because of the whole click of death thing that I assume was happening on the original zip drives. Yeah, it does. The class action lawsuit regarding mass failures of the iomega zip drive. So they wanted to disassociate themselves with the whole click thing, and then they went to, they changed the name. Anyhow, as I mentioned in the intro, this thing came out in 1999, and it's called a floppy disk storage system. So I don't know if that means that the little disk that's inside of here is actually floppy, as in it's not a solid disk like in a hard drive. It's actually flexible. But it does say here that it is 40 megabytes in capacity. So obviously we have quite a bit of shrinkage versus the original zip drives, which were quite a lot larger than these. And those were also high capacity floppy drives, but the original ones were only 100 megabytes. It does say that in 2001, the company announced a bigger capacity disk, and it was never released. And I guess it's not clear here. Would that have been something you could just insert into this reader mechanism, which is the actual card here? It was just a replacement disk, or was there an entire replacement, PCMCIA card? Internet Archive does have a copy of the original press release here from 2001 talking about the new 100 megabyte size. We do have a little insight here into the cost of this, and the Wikipedia article might talk more about that for this 40 meg variant, but the 100 meg one was supposed to retail for $10 each. That's for the actual disk, which when compared to a solid state or flash storage at the time, 32 megabytes, that was $60. So a massive price difference there. This press release does indicate that there was a HipZip digital audio player that I think used this format. So that would allow you cheaper storage of your MP3 files than using flash memory. And if you remember, those original MP3 players from back then had such limited capacity that you could have, barely any amount of music on there, maybe like a CD's worth of music. Of course, the benefit being it was solid state, so you didn't have to worry about any kind of damage from being dropped or things like that. We have a little bit of a comparison here between the 100 megabyte version and the 40 meg version. Durability, affordability, portability. It says the 40 meg discs are readable on the 100 megabyte pocket zip drive. Okay, so that right there tells us there would have been a different drive, which is this whole card thing here for the 100 megabyte version. And very much like the zip drives, when they increased the capacity to 250, and then I think there was like a 500 meg zip disk as well. I have one over there. I've been meaning to make a video on that. There are some amount of backwards compatibility with those drives, but you get performance implications by using like the 100 meg disks on the 250 meg drives. And I think there was some issues with writing to certain zip disks, depending on which ones you were using. I think like the 500 meg zip drive could read 100 meg disks, but couldn't write to them. I think it could read and write slowly to the 250 meg disks. I can't remember the exact specs on all that, but yeah, there were some limitations like that. So I guess that was going on here as well. Oh, thank you, iomega, for making sure that you integrated some kind of horrible DRM into this product. I mean, it never came out anyways. That allowed for, you know, DRM music, don't copy my music. We have a Macworld article as well on the 100 meg version, but this actually just seems to be copied and pasted directly from the PR, the press release. So there's nothing really special in here. Yeah, this is total garbage article. Interesting to see that there were garbage articles even in 2001. We get so much AI garbage articles now on these tech sites, and I guess that was no different back then. Maybe there was a lesser degree of it though than we get now. All right, well, back to the Wikipedia article on the click drive itself. It says, yep, originally this was a PCMCIA card, which is what we have here. That's the actual drive. Later, a USB version was also offered, which I guess is that right there. This is not going to be any kind of like comprehensive video on this format. I'm sure there were other videos on it. I just really wanted to play around with this and like see how it worked on Linux and stuff like that. So we're just doing a little bit of background reading here. I guess this was used in more than one MP3 player, the iomega Hip Zip, also the Sensory Science Rave MP, and the Agfa ePhoto CL30 Click. The Pocket Zip was electromechanical, hence not as reliable as solid-state flash memory cards, which have no moving parts. Also, the capacity and speed of flash memory storage increased and its cost decreased, while the Pocket Zip lost viability as a portable storage solution. Yeah, that was really end of an era. iomega was just like holding on dearly to the magnetic storage medium, like this floppy drive technology they had. And, you know, it was obviously dying. Writing was on the wall. Flash was just going to explode in capability very quickly. Like those 32 meg flash cards that cost $60 were very, very quickly going to grow in capacity. And, you know, look where we are today. Still using compact flash cards. Well, I mean, they're not super common now, but here's an 8 gig compact flash card, which costs like next to nothing. And of course, it's in the same form factor as the original compact flash cards. In fact, it's funny because I have a 128 meg version right here. Specifications: capacity 40 megabytes, seek time 38, 600 kilobits per second, rotational speed 2941 RPM. And look at this, disk shelf life 10 years. Well, it's 2024. And this came out, you know, this was maybe from 2000 or maybe the release year of 1999, which means this is probably at least 24, 25 years old here, far beyond its disk shelf life. Original documentation states that this thing is compatible with Windows 95, 98, and Windows NT 4.0. Will this even work with XP or Linux? I don't know. The USB version seemed to use mass storage, which means it should be relatively compatible with pretty much everything, including modern stuff. And that's like zip drives. You could plug a USB zip drive into a Windows 11 computer, for instance. It works perfectly. I'm assuming into the latest version of Mac OS too. It would just work. It says the Pocket Zip USB could work with Macintoshes, but the PC card is specified as not working with Apple computers. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mac laptop with a PCMCIA card handy, so we're not going to be able to test that. That's it for the article here. It's pretty thin and light. So I guess let's do some testing to see if this thing works on Linux. And if it does, then maybe someone can go up the article and reference my video as, well, a source for the compatibility of this card. All right, so the click disk itself. Let's get a closer look at this thing. So this is exactly how it was when I got it. It was like this. It was like loose. It was not in a case of any kind. But the iomega Click PC drive, a little bit of a divot right there. That's a little bit of adhesive residue that's on there. And you can see there, this is a regular PCMCIA type card, PC card, also known as PC card. The iomega Click 40 PC card drive designed for use with notebook computers. For help, visit their website. Copyright 1999, iomega Corporation. And there's the serial number, part number, model number C40-T2, assembled in Japan. On the back side here, notice there's a little hole right there. Is that like for air to get through or something like that? But from a thickness standpoint, this is the standard thickness of a regular PC card. And from a size perspective, it's pretty much exactly the same size. So if you just look up the specs of these, you can see exactly how big it is. But you can see me holding it in my hand here. I mean, it's not very big. So it's pretty cool to see something that is this size. Now, compared to a compact flash card, you know that these things generally fit into these types of slots. From a thickness standpoint, they're the same. In fact, if you were back in the day trying to use a compact flash card like this on a laptop computer, you would probably be using something more like this. So here's a 32 megabyte version. You would use an adapter like this, which is a PCMCA to compact flash adapter. So this slides in here, and look at that, Radio Shack branded. I don't think I realized that. Look at the back here. Oh yeah, it says Radio Shack right there too. I didn't even notice. Anyhow, that allows you to use a compact flash card on your normal laptop. Now notice here, the compact flash card can actually be thicker. And that's because there were versions of compact flash cards that also had hard drives in them. The IBM micro drive specifically was one of them. But I don't think that was at the same time as these. I'm not 100% sure of the timeline of that. But the micro drive, I think, came in like 140 meg and 340 meg capacities, but it was thicker than these compact flash cards that's in here. And I think this adapter card could accommodate that thicker micro drive type drive to go into your laptop. But this was a similar way to add disk expansion to your computer. Now, if you put one of these in here, or, you know, say I put this 8 gig card, which of course is far newer than this 32 meg card. This came out way, way after this. But if you plug this into your laptop, it shows up as a regular hard drive. Compact flash cards have a few different modes of operation, but one of them is just a standard IDE hard drive emulation. It essentially is exactly the same as an IDE hard drive, which, if you're aware, IDE is basically just a hard drive controller that is an extension of the ISA bus inside a hard drive. What I mean by that is the original hard drive controllers on PCs, right? That was a card you plugged in your ISA card slot, like on the IBM PC 5170 here, the 286. And then the hard drive itself was MFM or ST506. So the controller with all the smarts for, like, you know, reading the sectors and stuff like that was the card that's in your ISA slot in the computer. And then the ribbon cables allowed it to read and write to those disks, those spinning disks. But with IDE, what happened is they moved all the smarts of the hard drive controller into the hard drive itself. And the ribbon cable is basically just an extension of the 16-bit ISA bus. That's all that's going on, at least with the early versions of IDE. And the only thing that the controller did that was in the computer was a little bit of select logic for the I/O ports that IDE used, or the original IBM hard drive controller used, which was, I think, 1F0. And essentially, yeah, like it would send a command to read a sector, and instead of the chips that are on the hard drive controller in the computer reading, you know, responding to that and reading the sector or whatever, it's happening on the hard drive itself, IDE, integrated drive electronics. It just combined the controller and the hard drive mechanism all into one. And yeah, like I said, that ribbon cable is just the ISA bus. It's literally just the ISA bus with some buffers and transceivers pushing that signal through a ribbon cable. So when compact flash came out, these types of cards, it just emulated an IDE hard drive. So again, it's like 16-bit ISA through this pin header right here. So an adapter like this is actually pretty much, as far as I'm aware, mostly a passive affair. I don't think there's much going on here. And that's why when you get these compact flash to IDE adapters, notice there are no chips on here whatsoever. It's just this goes into here, and then you have an IDE cable. There isn't a single IC on this entire adapter. And that's, again, this is IDE, which is ISA over a ribbon cable, like a hard drive. And this just converts the connector here from that to the standard IDE connector. Now, as far as I'm aware, compact flash has other modes of operation, like high-speed stuff and, you know, DMA and things like that. And I think can also operate at like lower voltages and stuff like that. So I don't think you can necessarily use one of these in reverse to hook a hard drive up to a digital camera, but maybe. I mean, that would be a funny experiment to try one day, wouldn't it? Wire one of these into a digital camera that uses these compact flash cards, and then hook a regular external IDE hard drive up, power that up, would that work? I don't know, it might. But the reason why I went off on that tangent is because I feel that this is probably pretty similar in that this just might be acting like an IDE hard drive. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, when we see if we can get this thing working. So back to this thing here. When we look here at the opening, there's a little bit of a gap right there and right there. So like junk could go in there. But if you just push on this like that, it clicks in and then pops out. And then you can just slide this out. And now there's a little door there. So that's kind of nice. See that? A little flap. And then there is the actual 40 meg pocket zip disk. So according to the article, they call this a floppy disk. So I guess it's flexible. And yeah, I mean, there it is. There's the actual disk right there. So the disk itself is quite a bit thinner. You know, you can kind of see right there. So I guess there's just like incredibly thin pancake motor in there, which interfaces to the disk right there and is able to spin that up. Now let's open this thing here. Oh, it locks. It's got to be a little latch to release somehow. Something must push on this somewhere. There it is. There it is. There's the disk. I don't want to potentially damage it before we even try it. But there's just a little thing there. Hopefully I can get this to focus. Right there, you push that down just ever so slightly and then the latch releases. So obviously when we stick this into here, it must have something around there that pushes on that. And then as you slide this in, it opens that little door. And there we go, it latches in. It's funny that there's like these gaps here. I mean, I guess it doesn't go in very far. No, it doesn't because of the curvature of the disc case. But what an amazing thing of miniaturization this was for something that happened in the 90s. I mean, this would have been developed in the 90s at some point. Pretty amazing. All right, so that's the actual physical disk. Let's get the laptop booted up here and we'll hook up the capture device. We'll see if we can use it. All right, so we have the capture device connected and the card's not in here yet. It's sitting right here off to the side. I just was looking at what devices we have. And yeah, Firewire, IEEE, this laptop is very complete, has a lot of stuff on here. There's the card bus bridge. So basically that's what allows us to use these types of things. I think card bus is ISA, I think. I don't think it's PCI, or maybe it is PCI. I think it is actually, now I think about it. I'm always confused by the different generations of PCMCIA, card bus. I think Express Card for sure is PCI Express. I don't think this computer has PCI Express. I'm sure people could be looking at these things here and know what they mean. LPC, I think, is the low pin count ISA. So it's like ISA over something like 8 or 10 pins. Didn't someone make a video where they hook up a sound card to an LPC header on like a modern computer, like something that's like very recent? LPC, I think, is always used for TPMs, those trusted compute module things. And so I made an adapter to go from that to ISA. Anyhow, let's put this thing in here and see what happens. It may be totally dead. Remember, this is like a spinning disc, so it should make disc insertion spinning noises. So let's see what happens when we plug this in here, if this spins up. I don't hear anything. And it certainly made a weird high-pitched noise. So let's put the disc in itself. I'd say that this thing is dead. I'd say it's dead. Well, that's a shame. Let's put the whole card in again. I swear I hear it trying to spin up. Why don't we take the disc out of the carrier here? So first we'll put the card in, or the drive. Oh, interesting. It makes that same buzzy, that beep noise, I mean. How about this? It's not even trying to spin. So I don't expect us to see anything different here. No changes. But let's take a look at D message. And there it is. PCMCIA card inserted in slot 0, some kind of a memory probe. Registering new device, something on IRQ3. Then it was ejected. USB, wonder what I did. I didn't unplug anything with USB. Anyways, that must be besides the point. It does say I was inserting it, removing it. Well, that's not reassuring. It just may not work at all. Well, there's a couple things. The disk may not work, but it also might not work with Linux either. And maybe I have to somehow boot to Windows 95 or something like that. And I'm trying to think if I have a laptop with Windows 95. I think I do. So I might be grabbing that in a second here. Let's try this one more time. And it is not happy. Okay, time to reboot the computer. Okay, so I started booting Windows XP. I don't know why the capture device doesn't show anything, but probably not mirroring anyways. And it made the card beep. And we know that, well, I don't know. I actually don't know if that's coming from the motor or there's a speaker in there or what exactly. But here we are in Windows and we have the new hardware wizard and it does just show up as an IDE ATAPI controller. So that's kind of what I was thinking actually. Oh, I can move this over to here so you can actually see what I'm looking at. So very much like these cards, which are just normal IDE controllers, this seems to be the same. Looks like we're getting some drivers that are just installed. Oh, it's freaking running, everyone. It's freaking running. Oh yeah, it's spinning up and down. Let me try to fix this so we can, let's try to get this so you can see what I am seeing. There we go. All right. Let's see, I don't remember. There it is, the Click 40. Unfreaking believable. So it's not Linux compatible. You gotta be kidding me. All right, so in the device manager here, I think you can ignore those. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be showing up right here. It is one of these here. I assume it's this one. So there it is, PIO mode, DMA if available. Okay. It's using the standard Microsoft driver. And let's see here, do we have anything? Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I want to go here to details and let's just see if there's anything interesting here. I'm quite surprised that it's just not showing up at all in Linux. So adapter 4629. Here's some hardware IDs if anyone is curious. We got a couple right there. Plug and play compatible ID. A tappy, it's removable. So not a whole lot going on here. Here we go. Bus relators, it's IDE disk iomega, clik 40CZ, and some extra numbers there. We got some filters. Nah. We got some stuff here. It's not really anything. It's just setup. Power state D0, D0 and D3 supported. That's it. And if we go to resources, this is going to be, IRQ7 and the IO range. Interesting. Right, so remember that IDE uses 1F0 and 3F0, but this is using 180, which is a non-standard IO range. Now, this might have something to do, well, more with PCMCIA, to be honest. Just to confirm that, let's switch over to one of these compact flash cards. So I guess first question is, can I eject this? What is the correct procedure to eject? Click disk. So right click, eject, error encountered. Okay, so that doesn't work. What about down here? Save to remove. Okay, that worked. I mean, it's not like I had written anything to the disk anyways. So let's pop this out. And let's get this compact flash adapter here. I don't know, we'll use this 32 meg one here. All right, so we have a 32 meg compact flash card here. Stick this in. Smart flash card. See, PCMCIA again. Let's do this. It's installing exactly the same drivers as the other one. 32 meg flash. I think this is from like a Cisco router or something like that. Let's see if it even shows up. I don't even know what's on it. I think I've formatted all these various disks. Oh, it shows up as a hard drive versus a removable disk. Yeah, it's blank because I formatted it at some point. So there it is. It's going to be exactly the same. Oh, except it's running, well, DMA if applicable, but it's running in PIO mode anyways. Okay, so completely different IO range. IRQ is the same, which is probably the IRQ for the PCMCIA controller or the card bus thing. But interesting how this IO range is totally different. And I know for a fact, if we take this out, Windows is going to complain because I didn't eject it properly. Yeah, sorry. Let's swap the card over to one of my other ones here. This is an 8 gig one. Let's pop this in. I think it should look exactly the same. Hyperstone, right. It's got to go through this again. Remember that with Windows XP? Every time you insert new hardware, you got to do this whole thing. Now Windows, I don't know, 7, I guess, it made it where that was just sort of in the background. You didn't really see it unless it couldn't find the driver. Otherwise, it would not ask you. Rico, right, I don't know what that is, or compatible card. All right, so yeah, same resources, same resource ID as this 32 meg card. That's mildly interesting. And it's got its own device instance ID. Let's see if this stuff is different at all. I don't know, it looks pretty much the same. Now I can tell you 100% for sure in Linux, these are gonna work. So it's surprising that the click drive is working here in Windows. Let's go back to it and let's copy some stuff onto it. Yeah, I'm just pop that in. I'm gonna have to put the microphone down by the computer so you can hear what it sounds like. Yeah, let me do that. So you hear that beep when you insert it, and then the disk spins up, and then it very quickly spins down. Like, it accesses, you hear a little bit of access, and it's the OS just reading the disk, and then it spins down, I guess to save battery. We have to remember that this thing was designed to be used in laptops. Well, things with card slots, which were gonna be battery powered. So you might as well do your best to save battery power. All right, so I have the emulator Applewin on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where the emulator is, which is right here. And we're going to copy this onto the click drive. So we'll just copy this and we'll scroll down. I'm not using this little nub here. Paste. There it goes. Fast? I don't know. The Wikipedia article claims 600K per second. I need to go download a disk benchmark, I guess, so we can run it on here. But there it is, and let's run the emulator right off the click disk. It's slow. It is slow, all right. And boom, there it is. We have an Apple IIe running off a click drive. I mean, completely pointless, yes, but it works. And yep, it's spun up pretty quickly. I think we're looking at, yep, this is not on the click drive itself. I don't think there are any disk images on here. Oh, we have a master floppy disk. Oh, look at that, it booted the OS there. Catalog. Yes, it worked. HGR. Text. Call -151. This is working. Well, we got 38 megs, 38.3 megabytes formatted capacity. So you lose a little bit of your 40 megs, although could be a lot worse. You're losing 1.7 megabytes there. That's not as bad as some hard drives because they use that whole BS thing where like 1 gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes versus 1,024 megabytes. So you lose more capacity than you think with those. Not only are you losing formatted capacity, but even the advertised capacity is just not in a normal metric that we use. Okay, so I've gone ahead and installed Atto disk benchmarks on here. We'll run this as a 32 meg file, direct IO. Here we go. This is on the hard drive. We just want to kind of get a feel for what kind of performance we could expect on this computer. I think this has probably got a serial ATA hard drive in here, and we'll compare that to the click drive and see what we're getting there. Okay, it looks like we've reached the limit of our hard drive performance, about 130 megabytes per second. Now, this is no solid state drive or whatever that's in here, although, you know what? Maybe this is a solid state hard drive. I don't hear anything spinning on this computer. Oh, yeah, we are running with a SATA SSD. All right, well, we're at the limit of the performance of the serial ATA connection on this machine. That's why this machine feels really fast, to be honest. Anyhow, really, really good performance. Before we run Atto on this click drive, we're going to need to format this thing. So we'll just format this. We'll do a full format. I mean, it shouldn't take too long, right? There we go. It's spun up. And the reason why I'm doing a full format is just to make sure there's no like bad sectors or whatever on here. Now, other than the sound of the disk spinning, especially when it spins up, you hear this like little bit of a noise as it spins it up. You don't really hear much else from it. You can hear that it's actually spinning. And I bet you if this machine had a real spinning hard drive in here, it might be difficult to hear the click drive over the sound of the hard drive. So that's kind of cool. And it doesn't make a whole bunch of noise with like a seeking sounds and things like that, at least not during this format. Now the fan in this computer is a little bit noisy as well, so I'm kind of hearing that running right now. I don't know where the fan vent I think comes up over here. Yep. All right, well anyways, that worked. And it already spun down. That's so quick how that happened so fast. Click 40. Okay, well 32 megabytes, that should fit on there. Here we go. I mean, I notice here that we're not even getting anything on the graph because the graph is in megabytes per second, and we're not even like 10% of the way there. Wow. I guess we're just over 10% now with this 167K per second at the 4 kilobyte read size, or write size. Now with the maximum theoretical 600K per second, compared to a floppy disk, you know, it's pretty substantial. A 1.44 meg disk, you could read the whole disk theoretically in like 2 seconds. Of course, that's not realistic because a regular floppy drive has to seek, and that takes quite a bit of time, you know, in between each track. And, you know, this would be able to, I mean, I don't really know how many tracks are on this thing because it's kind of all obfuscated because it is showing up as an IDE drive. So it's just like a logical block addressing. It sort of hides the heads and cylinders. I wish there was a way we could actually see that. Now, if we were in DOS, and this were working in DOS, we could run a utility to like query it as an IDE drive that would actually show us the heads and cylinders. Oh, you know what? I didn't even think that in the device manager, it should show up under the disk drive section. Maybe there's a little bit more info there. We'll check there once this is done. So the performance is improving. We're at 357 now, but look at the CPU usage, pretty substantial. Now this processor has hyper-threading. I'm pretty sure it's, I mean, I don't think it's dual core. I don't even know what's in this thing. But the fact is we're getting 1 thread worth of activity, and it's pretty substantial amount of activity. Okay, it's been running for a while, and we might be approaching the point of diminishing returns. We're at 446K per second. I think the 600K per second in the Wikipedia article is theoretical. Yeah, okay, so we've stopped getting any faster. So we'll just stop this. And it's, well, really cool to know that this drive is fully operational, and you can see that there was quite a bit of CPU usage that was happening while the benchmark was running. Let's go take a look, see if we can figure out heads and cylinders on this thing. So under disk drives, we have the iomega clik. Does this give us any info here? Let's populate this. Really gives us nothing useful here. And I don't think in here we're going to have anything either. I've never really looked to see if I could figure out like the heads and cylinders of a disk in Windows. But generally, like as I said, IDE just obfuscates that stuff anyways. Yep, there's nothing in here that's showing us anything. So let's run disk part. Let's see if this can do anything for us. List disk. Well, that's odd. It doesn't even show the disk here. List volume. I forgot the commands. So there it is. There's the click drive. Select vol2. I don't know what commands we have here. It doesn't really help us here. Yeah, why doesn't it even show the physical disk? That one's odd to me. Okay, so the next thing I was curious about is this thing empty now? That we finished that benchmark, should be empty. Yes, it is. What if we eject the actual disk? We don't take the card out, but we just take the disk out. Right, okay. As soon as I pushed it in, this changed to this generic click here. Please insert disk. And let's take this out and put it back in. In fact, oh, that's pretty warm. I'm taking this whole thing out here for a sec. Okay, so yeah, wow. It's not hot. I'm not going to say this is like burning hot, but this is way warmer than I would have expected it to be. And then the disc itself, same thing. It's pretty warm. And to be honest, when it was running the benchmark, I could feel the warmth right here. And I don't think the computer really gets hot in this area. I don't remember where the hard drive is on this. No, underneath the card slot is the card reader for memory sticks and whatever else. So I don't think there's anything under there to really get hot. Hard drive is over here, so the solid state drive does get a bit warm. That's warm. Keyboard and stuff gets warm because there's processor and stuff up there. But this whole thing does get pretty warm, which means it's consuming a decent amount of current, which means, you know, not great for your battery life. And when we scroll down here, it just says click. And we can double click for the click drive. We'll slide the disk in here. There it is. So Windows definitely sees it as a removable disk. It absolutely sees it as a normal, honest to goodness removable disk. Drives removable storage. And we can eject it here, which does not work. The disk is still there. But if we push the disk in, there we go, it's gone. So I haven't even ejected yet, I just pushed it in. That's obviously like the eject button. The equivalent of the eject button is when you push the disk in there, and then when you push it, or when you let go, it pops out the rest of the way. All right, that's kind of curious. Cool. Let's run some benchmarks on its competition here. I have a 64 megabyte Cisco card in here. This is the, you know, I don't know, I would call this a competitor to that. I don't know if 64 megs was out in 1999. Don't know exactly what year it all came out in, but I'm figuring it's going to be similar. Not to mention, those types of cards are very slow because it's just designed for a router to hold the config info and firmware and stuff like that. So it's probably a somewhat decent comparison. So 64 MBCF, we'll change this to the same 32 megabytes. And here we go. Now let's talk about this a little bit while the benchmarks run. You know, there was no pricing information on the Wikipedia article for this 40 meg version. There was for the 100 meg one. It claimed $10 per disk. There's not a whole lot going on here with this. It's like just a floppy disk, you know, a little floppy magnetic disk inside this metal carrier. So I could see this being relatively inexpensive. Obviously, this drive, this is the actual drive, this is going to cost some money. I'd be curious to go try to find a little information about how much, you know, this whole combo cost, one drive and one disk. In fact, I'm going to go do that right now. All right, DOS Days has an article here talking about it, and it says the whole package in December 1998 came with a retail package or price of $249. And of course, that's probably more like $500 now. And each 40 meg disc cost $9.99 when purchased in a pack of 10. Wow, okay. This price was a bargain, given that a similar storage capacity and flash memory at the time would be between $120 and $160 each. You could also purchase 2 packs and 5 packs. There's a picture of the 2-pack, little plastic carrying cases as well. Discs were formatted just like a floppy disk. They appeared as a removable disk. PCMCIA version came out a little bit later in January 99. And look, there it is. There's a little carrying case for it. That's exactly what we have here, except the disk we have looks different. It says this competed directly against other storage mediums such as the IBM micro drive I mentioned earlier, and compact flash and smart media, all of which were solid state, no moving parts. Okay, well, the micro drive is a hard drive. It has moving parts. But the latter two, not all of which, but the latter two were solid state. But the performance Ah, okay. I just looked down at the laptop. The benchmarks are running. Sorry, that's my phone there. The performance is a lot better on the compact flash card. The performance of the click drive was faster than the floppy drive with 38 milliseconds seek. Well, we didn't test that, and sustained data transfer rates between 150 and 600. I don't know where that number came from. It seems like it was just made up, but we did not see anything faster than, I'm looking at my screenshot, we saw between 24K per second and 460K per second. And I don't think it would have reached the mythical 600K per second. By September 2000, sales were poor, and the click of death on the zip drives was hitting the headlines. So the click drive here, that was not good. So they changed the name, and they came out with a 100 meg version, and that was never released. Anyhow, here we are back on the laptop with the compact flash card in here, so no moving parts. And right off the bat, we have substantially, we can just cancel this, substantially better performance. I mean, we're still sad compared to, you know, much more modern stuff, but even the worst performance of this thing was as good as I got on the click drive at 400 and 500K per second. And this thing accelerated all the way up to about 900K per second. And considering this old compact flash card here is clearly old and designed for reliability more than performance, yeah, that's pretty sad. Now, of course, what's not sad is if this 64 meg cartridge was like 120 bucks, for instance, like the article claimed there, then you could buy 10 of the discs for this, so you could have 400 megabytes for the same price. Of course, this thing is a spinning disk, so reliability is, I mean, it still works. Who knows how this thing's been handled over the years. It was just like I said, it was given to me in a box of stuff. So I don't know how this was stored over the years, but it still does work. But we know compact flash cards are extremely reliable. You could throw this on the ground, throw it across the room, the computer could be running, you could drop it, nothing would happen. You could douse it in water, it would be fine, you know, as long as you let it dry out and stuff like that. There are huge advantages to solid state storage. I mean, we don't need to talk about that. We know that now. In hindsight, of course, 2024, our entire world runs on solid state, like our phones and computers and everything is just solid state now. Spinning hard drives are really reserved for the high capacity stuff. So this was a pretty interesting little sideline there into a little transient technology when solid state was really taking over the world. And, you know, this was the last gasp effort of miniaturization of removable disk storage. Now, I am curious, this does fully work in Windows XP. That would imply that this would work fine on Windows 7, on anything that has a PC card slot. Why doesn't it work in Linux? That's my question. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this in the computer. I'm going to reinsert this. Maybe we'll copy a few files onto it. And I'll reboot the machine. Oh, I can't put it in when there's a compact flash card in there. So yeah, I got to take this out first. And yeah, by the way, I mean, there's a little tiny bit of warmth to this, but it's barely warm compared to the heat that was on the click drive. So stick the click drive in there, made a beep, made a thing. There we go, it just spun up. What I'll do is I'll just copy these disks over to it. These are like Apple disk images, I think. Yep, this may not even fit on here, who knows, might run out of space. Actually, will give us an idea of how long the copy process takes. Let's see how much this is size-wise. Okay, we won't even fit on here. Looks too big, but you can see how slow this thing really is. Yeah, imagine now, I mean, we're so spoiled. We could copy that much stuff in like 90 megabytes. It would just get copied like in an instant. There wouldn't even be any, we wouldn't even notice that copy, right? But 1998, when this thing came out, or 99 when it came out, USB was still somewhat uncommon. I mean, it was starting to be there, but it just wasn't really commonly available. So thumb drives, like I have stuck in here, not super common yet. So people needed convenient ways to copy files around. Therefore, high capacity disks like zip disks were kind of useful. And the article implies the whole click of death thing was happening in that time period when this came out. And I was using zip drives like crazy. in the late 90s period. I remember I used to run Windows 2000, and I actually was a beta tester. So it was around 1999, and I absolutely brought 100 megabyte zip disk with me to work every day. And on my zip disk had my mail spool files, so I could use like Eudora, I think it was, and I could run and access all my email while I was at work, and it was all saved on my zip disk. And then I would take it home with me and stick that same zip disk into my home zip drive, and then I could access my mail. So that way when I downloaded mail, because remember this was like POP, right? So it would download your mail into your computer. Well, when I was at work, I still wanted access to my email, so I'd carry it around on a zip disk. That was super common. And I think my computer at work, I had a USB zip drive, external, and at home I had an internal zip drive. And yeah, that disk was incredibly reliable. I never had any issues with that. I never personally had click of death. I know it was a thing, but I just personally never ran to it. And I still have a whole bunch of zip drives and they still work. So mediums like this, like 40 meg portable cartridge thing, seem kind of useful. And if you had a laptop and you had this in there, you could just swap out 40 meg disks. I mean, that's pretty cool, actually. I kind of, for the time and place, I kind of love this. All right, let's reboot the computer here. Let's see if we can actually access this disk in Linux. I mean, I just don't get why it's not working, because it, for all intents and purposes, it should absolutely work. Okay. Oh, look at that. We actually have video. It's coming through the external screen. So we'll run Debian here. Cool. Okay. So it made the beep sound, but it never spun up. Very interesting. Now we take a look at the drives we have here. We have Windows boot, that's the NTFS boot drive. We have the NTFS share, that was a share partition. A boot, which I'm assuming, I don't know, might be the Linux or something. I don't know what these are, to be honest. But what we don't have is an icon for the click drive. No, there's nothing. And all we have here in dmessage is the PC card was inserted. It's probing the memory. That's it. It just shows up as a device at IRQ3. But if we pop this out and we stick our Cisco compact flash card in here, this absolutely will work. So, well, I think it will work. You know what? This doesn't seem to be working either. That's so strange, because I use the SCSI, there's an Adaptec SCSI card here. I use this all the time on this laptop, and it totally works fine in Linux. I'm going to reboot the computer here, see if that makes any difference at all. Nope, it's not there. And I think, by the way, this 7.8 gigabyte volume, pretty sure is this this USB stick right here. Yep, I popped that out, that disappeared. So that's working. Okay, well, that just sort of implies here there's something wrong with the card bus drivers on this version of Linux here. And there's a good chance that it does work, because it's not working with the compact flash card, and that's clearly a problem. Look, it's doing exactly the same thing with this compact flash card. Card ejected, put it in, card inserted. Yeah, okay, well, it's not working. When it comes to Linux and PCMCIA cards, I really don't know much about it. I don't know what I'm doing with it. This laptop was sent to me pre-configured, and that's why, like I said, it completely works with this Adaptec card, because this is what was in the machine when I got it. This slim SCSI card. Very useful. I've had such great luck with this slim SCSI card over the years. Popping in the slim SCSI card, there it is. It actually shows up. See, IRQ3, but then it's able to talk to it and shows up as slim SCSI. So we know that card bus is working in Linux, but yet it doesn't quite work. All right, so there we go. I think that's going to be it for this video. What have I learned? I've learned that the PCMCIA drivers don't work properly on Linux on this machine. They only sort of work, so that's something. I don't know for sure if this thing works or not in Linux, but there's no reason why I think it should not work. I think this probably should work in Linux. I would imagine it should work on a Mac too, but what do I know? I don't have one to test with. But I do know that it works perfectly in Windows XP. I mean perfectly. Now we also learned that the performance of this is kind of meh. That this 64 megabyte Cisco card here, whoever makes this, I don't know. This thing is quite a lot more performant than this. This thing makes a weird beep noise when you plug it in. That's kind of mildly interesting. It's able to spin up and down pretty quickly. That's kind of cool. It ejects itself as soon as you push this in and makes a click sound. It is now ejected. And then you let go and then you're able to pull this out. You can open the shutter on here by pushing the little thing on the side there, and you can look inside this disc if you so desire to do that. And this was a product that came out at the end of 1998, the very end, and really was on sale in 99. And in mere 2-3 years was dead already. Like, that's a pretty well developed product here that just died on the vine so quickly. But it came out at the wrong time when Compact Flash was coming out in force, plus smart media, and then, you know, soon SD cards and stupid Sony memory stick and all that. And we all know what happened. Solid state flash storage took off, came down in price, and just was so much better and more reliable than these spinning discs. But this is still a very curious thing. Very curious. Oh, and I like how it gets warm while it's running. That's kind of interesting as well. Kind of implies it's not great for your battery life. We know that flash storage takes quite a bit of power to write, but reading is very quick. This, on the other hand, takes quite a bit of power just to read and write, just to spin the disk. So, not great. Anyways, that is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, thumbs up. I bet you there's lots of people watching who have plenty of experience using this. Maybe not lots of people, but some people. And this is definitely just a curiosity. It came out in 99 and was around for a few years, and then poof, gone. And iomega, I don't think lasted much longer after this either, right? They had jazz and a few other things like that, and that was that. So anyhow, if you enjoyed it, like I said, thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thanks to my patrons. Names are scrolling up the side of the screen. Thanks for bearing with me and being sick and all this. Pretty much sucks. And that's going to be that. So stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.